Many thanks for staying with us, everyone, and welcome back to the program. The federal government said the 2017 budget is a budget of recovery and growth. Some lawmakers are optimistic. Just so you heard some of them there before we returned from the break about the capabilities of the document. But what about some of the gray areas? Today, a rights group, the Center for Social Justice, believes that little changes really exist in the 2017 budget, considering some of the discrepancy they found out obvious in the document.
The annual rituals of budgeting for frivolities, which we have seen in previous years, is not what we are expecting at this time around. But unfortunately, we are still treading in the same path, despite the mantra of change. The document is almost about 50 pages, but I will go through the major highlights. First of all, let's start from the State House, which should provide leadership by example, where the President resides and the Vice President. We have a budget heading which is traversing all MDAs and which we consider to be wrong. This is the one they call Budget Expenses and Administration. Each ministry, department, or agency has either a finance or accounts department where they're expected to have employed highly qualified persons. They have economists who should be able to prepare the budgets of the particular ministry or sector. I do not know whether they're hiring consultants to do this, but I find it wrong that what has already been paid for by personnel vote, almost every ministry is asking for money to do this, including the State House. In the State House, they still have money for anti-corruption, and I'm wondering, since all the anti-corruption agencies report to the President, what they should still be doing with such a vote again. And the ubiquitous welfare vote, for which they're asking for 209,500,000. And we are wondering, after personnel costs, we are still talking about welfare. What is this welfare all about? In the same State House, refreshment and meals is to go up 97.2 million, which we think is also on the high side. And there's also a provision for purchase of kitchen equipments, which is about 100.8 million. Last year, there was also one for 80.2 million. And the question is, whoever buys kitchen equipments on a yearly basis?
Eze Onyekwere, the Executive Director of Center for Social Justice there, Senator Okunromu, with your experience in the National Assembly, give us a benefit of what zero budgeting should mean, especially when the government says this is a budget, a change era, and again, this is a budget of recovery and growth. But he has pointed out repetition, duplication, some frivolities according to what they've highlighted there. Are you concerned about the budget of 2017, if truly it will give us recovery and growth?
What surprises me is that Nigerians still give so much seriousness to the so-called budget that our government prepares every year. I think these are just figures for the people to talk about and exercise their jaws. It's meaningless because, number one, they don't even intend to keep to the budget that they give to us. A lot of this, as we all know, is padded to provide money for themselves. So
there's padding really, since you were in the National Assembly, the word padding really exists?
It wasn't there in my time. Don't forget I was in the National Assembly between 1999 and 2003. Yeah. That was an exemplary Senate where we impeached our own Senate President for corruption of just about 140 million naira for over street lights that they wanted to have between the National Assembly and the access. We impeached him for anticipatory approvals. We impeached so many of our officers for corruption. So this was a Senate. It was then that we still believed Obasanjo really meant to fight corruption, because it was then that we had this ICPC bill before us, and we all were very happy that yes, we are going to have a change because the government was serious about fighting corruption.
I mean, if we find 100 and something million naira for kitchen utensils, 90 million naira for refreshment, repetition in the area of some budgetary allocation for welfareism, corruption fighting. You find it all in the MDAs and even in the villa.
Those are the minor things that are being repeated every year. You will find that almost every year they're going to either renovate the Speaker's house or the Senate President's house or the Vice President's house, and this keep recurring every year.
And they may not have even, done it anyway.
And it's always a large sum of money they budget for this. Even much larger than that we are talking about now.
We've heard sometimes that they budget for journals and periodicals and newspapers in hundreds of millions.
Yes. So I think these are just frivolous. We are saying that we are in a recession, but the government does not operate as if to say it understands that we are in a recession.
Because some people will say, for example, if there is zero budgeting, for example, that zero budgeting means that you start from the scratch. Does this look like so? Because some people will say it's just same of the same. It's what we've seen in the past.
It is, yes. I agree with them. This is not zero budgeting at all. And in any case, the whole idea that you have to budget for every ministry, every item of government, shows that the government has no priorities. The government has no focus. A government that has focus must decide on its priorities and concentrate on those priorities. Some ministry may have to do with very little funding if they don't fall along the priorities of government. If the priority is education, for instance, most of government funding will have to go for education. If the priority is agriculture, there is a lot of money that might have to be shifted to agriculture.
You are so concerned about the Confab report.
Yes.
Let's round up our conversation around that. Does the Confab report really tackle some of these excesses that comes in the area of budgeting?
Well, the Confab report did not go into the details of how budgets should be prepared. But the Confab report deals with how funds, resources should be shared between the tiers of government. If every tier of government knows the quantum of resources available to it, then it depends upon that tier of government to know how to husband the resources that it has.
Are you concerned that the Confab report is still lying there without being implemented right as we speak?
Well, I'm concerned, but I'm not surprised.
Why?
I'm not surprised because, you remember, I was the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee. And while we were trying to prepare for this national conference, there were sectors within the country that said they did not want a national conference. There were sectors that, in fact, wanted a status quo to remain. They did not want a change or a review or anything that would alter the constitution that we have right now.
What danger do we face if this present structure is not altered?
If this present structure is not altered, the country is going to go more and more towards the precipice and towards national disintegration, as we are already doing. You can see right now today, anybody who is conscious of what is happening in Nigeria today knows that the center is not holding. Look at this so-called Fulani herdsmen coming, harassing, more or less maiming people across from the north to south. It appears the way most people see it is not just me. The way most people see the Fulani herdsmen is that they are the front line in a jihadist army, jihadist occupation army, trying to occupy the Middle Belt and the South. That's what that's the way most people see it.
So there's an urgent need to look into the Confab.
So there's an urgent need to look into the Confab report.
Senator Femi Okunromu, many thanks as always for coming on the program, and many thanks for your thoughts over there. Thank you so much, and that's our show for tonight. Many thanks for being part of it. I'm Seun Akinlale. Bye for now.